Joe Rubin at the Ultra Tec facility. And what we're going to do here is the video version of the Ultra Tec Owner's Manual. Robert Rubin is on the camera. Say hello to the people, Robert.
Hello, folks.
Okay, now if you got this video in the mail before delivery of your machine, I'm going to show you, then you're someone who will see it before you open the box. So let me start at the very beginning and show you how to go about opening this. It's probably been delivered by the UPS man. There is a packing list up on top, and it's a good idea to look at that. I'm using an X-Acto knife, but you could use any sort of blade, being careful not to cut yourself. Pull that packing list out. That packing list will include the items that you receive, the items that are included. And it's a good idea to look at that, particularly in the event that something may not have been included. Maybe there's a back-ordered accessory or something like that, and it's good for you to know about that. So check your packing list. Okay, the box itself is sealed, it's tape closed, and the main tape is along this. And again, this is easy because the guys knew that I was going to be using this machine for the purposes of this video, so they didn't do a very strong job of taping. So your job will be a little tougher than that. But that's about it. You're going to slit along there, look for other places where the tape may be holding the box closed, and then open the box like this. Okay, these sides fall down. Take it easy as you wield that blade to open the box, because what you want to do is try not to damage the box. You may find it useful to have later. Okay. Inside the box, you will find the written copy of the Ultra Tec Owner's Manual. And I'm going to be using this as a guide, as an outline guide to take me through this. Those noises you hear in the background are traffic noises as trucks and cars go by. Let's hope that the train doesn't blow its whistle. Packed in its own box inside will be the Ultra Tec head, and we'll put that aside for the moment and open it separately. Let's get the innards out of here. There's a lamp on the order, and it comes in its box. There's a few accessory items. Let me try to tip this forward so somebody can get a view. I think we can do that. This is what it looks like inside. And I've just taken some accessory items out of the splash pan. There's a drain hose that's in the splash pan. The thing to do, and here's a drip tank. The thing to do is to take all those accessory items out and then set the machine on the table. And I suggest the best way to do that is to take the box and put it onto the floor. I think that base weighs about 20 pounds, so that's not too difficult a task. Okay, then the base can be lifted straight up. It has those plastic corners in the bottom of the box, which hold it away from the walls of the box and allows you to grip it easily for lifting. Initially, set the machine on its side. And this wire, this is the power cord, will come out through the bottom. Take the twist tie off that power cord, and we're going to hook that up to an outlet. Okay, and then just set the machine down. This. Check and see if there's anything in the box, and I did find the post for the water tank. So let me put the box aside. Okay, so we have everything out, everything's spread around. Let's take a look at this box that contains the head. And again, I'm going to split that open. And hopefully wrapped up in bubble pack. Carefully is a transfer fixture and the faceting machine itself, the faceting head itself. Okay. The faceting head will mount through this keyhole. This is the stud that holds it in position. This is a lever that moves the stud. You can probably detect that movement. We slip this through the hole, back along the slide, and then lock it. And that's the basic setup for the machine. And now we've got to plug it in, and let me get this over to a plug. And when we come back, we'll show you exactly how the whole thing works. Okay, well, I guess if anything proves I'm human, that's it. I behaved just like you did. And in my haste to get this put together, I put that faceting machine head right onto the base the way you see it. And then I looked at the manual. And we all know we're supposed to look at manuals first, don't we? Well, I looked at the manual afterwards, and that really doesn't even happen until page 5. But at least we got a look at what's in the close future for us. So I'm going to take that off again, and then we're going to use that manual as a guide the way I said we would. So I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to set it aside back here in this box. Okay, and here we are, back again. And now we'll refer to the written manual. It's a good idea, incidentally, for you to have this written manual at hand. If you're looking at this after you've opened the box, I realize a lot of you will be looking at this tape before your machine ever arrives. But it's a good idea to look at it again after the machine arrives with the manual and sort of follow along. There'll probably be places where you want to stop the tape and review what was just said by reading the manual. Now, the first page of your owner's manual, incidentally, will be a test report. And Robert, let me set it here and see, can you focus in on that? I don't know if you can read it, can you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And basically what it is, it's a listing of the specification for the machine, and then the test results that we obtained on your particular piece of equipment. And it's nice to see those results. These signatures are the individuals who did the testing, and the bottom portion of this page is the warranty. The next page sort of deals with very general sort of information, and it is a good idea to look through that. And then we got to the portion that says unpackaging the unit, which is what we did, setting the base onto a tabletop. There are dimensions there, incidentally, for those of you who wish to set the base into a tabletop so that it comes up to here. Now we know from asking people that a great majority of people continue to use the machine just the way it is, sitting on top of the table, and that's fine. But if you put it into the table, there are dimensions to use for the cutout. In my own setup at home, for example, I have it set into an old desk, and it makes a very nice setup. The electrical hookup, of course, as we mentioned before, the power cord comes out from underneath the machine, and we're going to lead that over to a standard 110 outlet. I'd like to point out that it is a 3-prong plug, and it's important to have the unit grounded. Not that there's particular danger associated with this, but I think it's always a good idea to use a grounded plug. So don't defeat the grounding on this. Make sure that you go into a 3-hole outlet. The drain hose, and I should have taken advantage of having the machine up on its side, presses into a funnel. And this is the drain hose which carries the water away. And before we tip that up again, let's take a look at that funnel from the top of the machine. And I'll remove the splash pan. I don't know if you need me to tip it up, or can you see this okay? Can you
Got
see
it?
Okay.
Sure.
That's the funnel through which the drain water goes, and this nipple on the splash pan fits into that. Okay, you don't have to take the splash pan off. I just thought it was a good idea for you to see that. But again, we're going to tip the machine back onto its side, onto its back, I guess. In here is the bottom end of that funnel. Let me walk around in front. I'll block the camera for a minute. Okay, and this is the drain hose. Just take that hose, push it onto the funnel. It'll wiggle on a little bit on the snug side, which is exactly what you want. It goes on, incidentally, a lot easier than it comes off. It takes a pretty good tug. As a matter of fact, this one would take a very good tug to get it off. And that's fine because that means that it stays there. And then set the machine back down onto its base. The drain hose itself can be led to a jug of some sort, and this is a jug that we had around. As you can see, it's a 1 gallon milk jug, and that's really a very good catcher for the drained water. And I am going to set it up over here, so I'll just put the end of this tube into the jug. When you do that, see to it that there aren't any extra loops in the drain hose. The water needs to be able to drain smoothly into that jug. If you put an extra loop in there, you're going to trap air, and it'll result in the water backing up. And you refer back to the manual and do this in a nice orderly way. Okay, the splash guard, which we took off, is made of a molded neoprene, nice and sturdy. And you saw me take it off. I just popped it out of these clips, and I'll put it back on. When you put it on, make sure that this nipple lines up with the funnel. And it will fit in there very nicely. There's plenty of clearance. This ear pops into this hole. And then, of course, there's the one in the back. And it pops in there and holds that very securely. Always do a last check and make sure that this is lined up. Nothing terrible happens if it's not lined up. What will happen is you'll detect some leakage of water across the top, and you're going to stop at that point and say, wait a minute, what's happening here, and fix it. Okay, there are hold-down clips which in the front here, which give you access to your lap, and we'll go over all of this later, for times that you're working on the girdle of the stone. So when the arm of the faceting machine is coming out in this direction and needs to get that clearance, these clips will hold down the edges of the splash pan. The speed control, which is located here in the lower right, on the right-handed machine. The left-handed machine, incidentally, is an exact mirror image of this. So, one instruction should suffice for both. This is a directional control. It's off in a central position. This causes the lap to go in a counterclockwise direction, and this is clockwise, and then this over here is a speed control. Okay, and it gradually takes you up to a top speed of about 1400 RPM. Why don't I go in and plug that in? Robert, why don't you fade me out for a minute, and I'm going to go plug this in so we can show the people the operation. Okay, and what I did there was to plug the machine in, a very complex maneuver. And you can, from your view, Robert, are you looking down over the top so you can see this moving? Okay. Again, of course, this is the off position. This is clockwise, and you can see the clockwise movement here. This is speed control, and that's running up at a top speed, and then this is down at a very low speed. You'll learn, incidentally, that you have very nice torque even at that very low speed. And of course, that's clockwise. You do most of your work that way. This is counterclockwise. The reason for the two directions is that the main reason is that some stones will not polish in one direction and will polish with another, and that's particularly true of quartz materials. But you'll find that often it's nice if you're doing some heavy removal of material, for example, to be splashing away from you rather than splashing toward you. On my desk at home, I have a nice backsplash specifically for that reason. Okay, and that's the simple control. Now, you can leave it in a certain speed condition, move it to off, and when you come back again, turn it on again, and you'll be moving at that same speed. Just as a little note of caution, don't flick the switch back and forth rapidly and repeatedly. If it happens once in a while, that's fine. But in other words, if you're doing this once in a while, that's okay. But if you do that repeatedly and frequently, you'll cause some demagnetizing of the motor. Again, not a critical thing, and certainly nothing to worry about. This stud back here holds the lamp, if you purchase the lamp. And, well, I have to unpackage that lamp. I guess this will probably provide the comic relief to this show. The removal of this plastic is sometimes easy. This is really going to show you, I should have rehearsed this, and sometimes not so easy. And if I start to struggle, we're going to cut this short, Robert, and fade back again when I've got it done. But removal of this can take some time, and what I urge you to do is try to examine the manner in which the lamp is wrapped, rather than just tearing away at it. Because if you, I'm doing good. I'm listening to my own advice for a change. Because if you attack it in a scientific way by observing the way it's wrapped, it will come off pretty good. I've learned perhaps for the first time here. But otherwise, there we go. I thought I was going to have to allot 20 minutes for that unwrapping. That wasn't bad. Wasn't bad at all. Okay, and this is a nice flexible stem. And the way this attaches is that you pull back this black ring like this. And even here, I have to do this a little awkwardly so I stay out of your way, but it's not hard to do. Pull the black ring up, slip it over that stud, and release the ring. And that's it. And that's how easily that's done. It can be moved around at this point without retracting that black ring again. You can just leave it the way it is. And this lamp will work very nicely. It does have it also goes into a standard 110 outlet. Okay, and now we're up to page 5, and that's nice because now I can go back and get that faceting head and put it on. And as I showed you before, in my haste to get this put together, the faceting machine has this stud, this retaining stud. Slip that nut through the hole, slide back to some convenient position. You'll be able to locate it where you need it to be at any time, and then lock. It's a good idea in the future, if you take the head off and put it back on again, just to wipe the bottom off with the palm of your hand and make sure that you're not catching any grit underneath. And while I said the magic word grit, let me just stop and say that in general, it's very important to keep your machine clean. That's essentially the one maintenance thing that you're going to have to think about. If you keep the machine clean, that is, you remove the grits and residues that collect, you'll find that the machine will last you many, many, many years. And that means that after you're done faceting, wipe the surface plate off, wipe off the portions of the machine that show grit, take the splash pan off and take it to the sink and clean it. You saw how easy that is to remove and to replace. So there's nothing to discourage you from keeping it clean, and that's probably one of the best habits that you can develop in regard to your maintenance of your faceting machine. Okay, now, the head, there's this twist tie over here that keeps the head from flopping around. You want to remove that. this is in an up position. It's held there because the angle stop is holding it, and we'll show you how to work the angle stop in a moment, but just loosen the angle stop. That will permit the spindle to come down. Okay, and then relocate it again. All right, and that's the basic setup. Now, the controls of the faceting head itself, what are those? Each faceting machine does essentially the same things. You have a control of this angle, which is called an axial angle. And we're seeing the angle dial move. We have a control of the indexing angle, the radial angle. And that allows you to repeat facets once a facet has been cut. I'm going to go back over each of these and show you step by step. And then you have control of a vertical position, up and down. And those are the essential movements that are required for faceting. Now, on the indexing, this machine, and most new machines are equipped with a 96 index gear. And there's this little piece above here is called a detent, and it's attached to a rocker because it rocks. And when I pull up on the rocker, I'm able to move the gear to another position. Okay, there's a marker on the detent that shows you which tooth position you're in. That will relate to the various positions on the faceting instructions. The reasons for using different index gears is that they give you different mathematical combinations. They're divisible by different numbers. An 80 index gear, for example, is divisible by 5s. For a 3-sided stone, you'd use a 72 index gear. We have a new index gear, which is a 77, that's usable for 11-sided or 7-sided stones. That's the reason for the different index gears. The most popular index gear is the 96. And between the 96 and the 64, you're probably capturing perhaps 75 or 80% of the stones that are designed. And those are called index gears, index wheels. And I think our terminology is index gear. The way that gear works is that we're in a 96. I don't know whether you can you get in on that, Robert? You see it?
No,
too far?
Too far.
Why don't you take the camera off? Everyone will understand why we're bouncing around for a moment. Okay, Robert did the right thing and didn't make you folks suffer through his bouncing around. He brought the tripod up closer so that we could get a look. Now, talking about the index gear. This is a 96 index gear. And we're in that 96, which is the same as a 0 position. This is the detent. The detent rides on this rocker. We raise to move the index, we raise the rocker, move to the next position. I'll go to tooth number 12 and drop that down. And that's indexing. Now, you can't get an advanced degree in indexing because this is all there is to indexing. You raise, move to the position that you want, and drop that indicator into the right position. There is what we call an index vernier for fine adjustment of the index position, and that's back here. That's this piece over here. And if you move this one space, 2 spaces, you're moving tenths of a degree. This is 2/10 of a degree. This is 3/10 of a degree. This is 4/10 of a degree. As I move the index vernier clockwise, it's adjusting the index gear clockwise. So this is moving clockwise, this is moving clockwise. And vice versa, of course, I can move in the other direction. To get back to the position I was at before, which was the 0 position, I just rotate to here. So it's calibratable, very easy to use, very easy to move back to the original position. Now there's nothing magic about the 0 position on the index gear. It's strictly a relative thing. If you find, for example, that you started a stone and let's say you're over here at number 3, all you have to do is continue on that stone and remember that your starting position was number 3. Again, there's nothing special about the 0 position. The 0 indicator is there only to give you a good, easy to remember reference point. You'll notice, okay, this, freewheeling. Let me point out how that's done as I follow the manual as an outline for this. Freewheeling is accomplished this way. You raise the rocker, engage this little lever. At this point, you're holding the detent out of the way, and you can move this freely. Now, that's useful mostly for forming girdles on round stones, but there are other times you'll find that you'll use this freewheeling feature. To get out of the freewheeling feature, just pull up on the rocker. This little lever that was holding it is spring-loaded. It snaps back to where it was, and now we're back in a holding steady position. As I go on, control of the height. And Robert, you need a picture of the entire head, so you want to zoom back, I guess. Okay. This is pretty easy adjustment. This is up. This is down. The mast is calibrated along its entire length. And these indications are in centimeters here. These indications, but if you watch this, I go from 0 to 0. Okay, I've
You want to do that one more time for us?
1 millimeter down below. Okay, it's on 0 here. If I rotate to the next 0, which is halfway around, I have moved 1 millimeter. The spacings then, so each number then, this is 1/10 of a millimeter, 2/10 of a millimeter. The little spaces then over here, if I move one space, I'm going 0.02 millimeters, and if I go in between that, I'm going 0.01 millimeter. 0.01 millimeter, for those of you who are more familiar with English measurement, is 4/10,000ths of an inch. So it gives you really very, very fine adjustment and very repeatable adjustment over the full length in traveling up and down. The control of the axial angle, and this is probably the key control, so I saved it for dessert. That's this control here. That's the angle dial, and the Ultra Tec angle dial is directly readable to 1/10 of a degree. You can hear that I'm bumping up against the stop, and there's a fine adjustment here. So let me go through the setting of an angle. To set a 45-degree angle, and I'm going to, later on, I'm going to turn the machine around so that you can see what's happening at the back side and get a good idea, a better idea of what I'm doing. First, I loosen the knob down below. I actually leave a little tension on it. It's okay if you don't, but I just find it's convenient to leave that tension. I push to the 45 degrees to where 45 lines up with a 0 over here. I'm talking about this 45 and this 0. And then I use the fine adjust to bring it in. Now, you can see I actually brought it very close to the 45, but there's considerable range of that fine adjustment screw. Okay, so you can zero it in exactly. Now, that's 45 degrees. That's 45 and 1/10 when this 1/10 line lines up with the line below. Don't worry about which line below. And you can see, this is 45, we're a little above the 45. This is 45 and 1/10, 45 and 2/10, 45 and 3/10, 45 and 4/10, and so on. And that's the direct reading of 1/10 of a degree. I'll move back to the 45. Now, what was happening in back where you couldn't see it? Let me turn the machine around so that you can see the axial angle control mechanism. The lower knob that I loosened was this, that I loosened and retightened. Loosen this, I can now change the angle. And as I do this, the angle dial back here is moving and telling me what that angle is. When I get close to the angle I want, as before, I went to the 45 degrees, I tighten this, and then I use the fine adjustment to make that final adjustment. And you can, if I move it enough, you'll see what's going on. Okay? Now, what I did, let me get back here in the normal position. I reached around, loosened, a little hard for me to do left-handed, moved to the position I wanted, tightened, fine adjusted. Okay? And so I'll go back again, and let me set another angle so you can watch that again from the front. I loosen the lower knob, and raise it up and set 51 degrees, let's say. Get it close to the 51, and then use the fine adjustment to zero it. And that's the axial angle. So this constitutes a vernier arrangement for the axial angle, and we're able to dial in that axial angle with very great precision. The owner's manual itself has some examples of the angular positions. It's really quite an easy thing to do. If you have any questions about that, what you need to do is give us a call or speak to your dealer. It's something that you can be helped with, and you'll find yourself doing that very easily. We've now gone over the basic control positions of the head. And let me do a little cleaning up here, Robert, and if you retreat to your earlier position, we can start anew. Okay, those of you who are following along in the manual, we are on page 9, where we talk about things, some how-tos that aren't exactly controls on the machine, but how we manipulate the work. And of course, probably the most important thing is the control of the docked stone. The machine is shipped to you with a stone docked, and something different than what I'm showing you here and what you get, and that is that the stone that's in your machine will already have some facets on it, which we do just to give the machine a little bit of a test run. You know, and in the same sense that you'd hate to pick up a car at your auto dealer with 0 miles on it, meaning that no one ever turned it on and saw that it worked. We like to test every machine and do some preliminary cutting and see that everything lines up okay and the dock inserts and all of that. So you'll have a stone that has some facets cut on it, and the reason that we didn't do it on this one is that I thought it would be useful for you to see me do that exact operation. So after we're done explaining the machine itself, I'm going to go over that. You'll see that there is a chamfer at the back of the dock. That chamfer aligns with a pin in the spindle. Here's the pin, okay? And I'll put it in a little bit at an angle, and you'll probably see how this rotates as I push down. What it's doing is lining up against that pin. So you hold it there firmly, and you turn the retention screw, and it's in there very firmly. Okay? Let me do that again. To remove it, loosen the retention screw, pull out. There is, I doubt if you can see it, but I can see a bit of a witness mark along the chamfer where contact was made with the cross pin. It's a good idea to get in the habit of inserting the dot so that the chamfer, and I'm holding this toothpick in this direction so you can see the direction of the chamfer. So the chamfer is in this direction away from the retention screw. It gives you a little bit of advantage in alignment and accuracy if you do that as compared to doing it the other way. Probably not critical, but why not take advantage of every little little chance that you have. So again, I inserted and I lock. And that's it. That's the insertion and removal of the docked stone. Now, as you work on the stone, you get to the point that you have to put in the tabling adapter so that you can work on the flat table, and you need to point the stone straight down. I probably should mention, or maybe I shouldn't mention, but I will mention, that some people will actually move the machine into a full up position, point that spindle straight down to work on a table, and just move this way far forward with this spindle pointing straight down and work on a table that way. I've done it myself. It can be done. It's not a difficult thing to do. It's convenient to do that on small stones. But in most cases, you're probably going to be using your tabling adapter, or people call it a 45-degree adapter, and I'm going to show you how that mounts. Of course, first we need to take the stone out to do that. The tabling adapter, incidentally, is this item here, okay, which you got with your machine. And again, there's no particular radial position that's correct for the tabling adapter. And what you need to do is remove the retention screw, slip the tabling adapter over the spindle, and you'll feel it come up against the bottom. And now I need the Allen wrenches. And let me take this off for a moment and get my Allen wrench. I should have been prepared. The Allen wrenches incidentally come in this box that comes with the machine that includes the set of 12 dots. And here's the Allen wrench. And there goes our fax machine. Okay, let me make sure that I have the right wrench. Well, you know, I probably could win the prize for picking the wrong wrench. But I bet there's a lot of you folks out there who think you could win that prize. Okay, so I have the right wrench. And again, I'm going to go back, insert the tabling adapter, and don't snug these up tightly, just put them in so that they're relatively loose. Okay? And that's so that there's some drag on them. We're going to be doing some adjusting for the tabling position. Okay? So you can see. I can still turn that. Okay? And Robert, turn us off for a moment because I didn't get a lap to use, and it's a good idea to do this alignment using a lap. Okay, I brought this lap. I know this is a nice flat lap. And I'm going to step in front, but I'll try to stay out of your way. This is just a matter of putting this lap onto the platen. Make sure that everything is nice and smooth, and you can usually and clean. You can often feel that better than you can see that. So it's a good idea to do as I did and wipe off the bottom of that lap. And get your hands dirty as I did. So let me go over here and wipe it off. Okay. Now I have that lap on there. And our task, if you recall, is to do the alignment of the tabling adapter. I'm going to use this calibration bar, which we'll talk more about later, for this purpose. You insert it into the tabling adapter, line it up so that it is approximately parallel with the front end. It's not critical. You have a hard time making much of a mistake in that regard. Then bring this down to a 45-degree position or less. Again, that's not critical at this moment either. And come down against the lap. I'm purposely going to set it off more than I would be likely to, so that you can see what happens as I come down. As I come down, I
You want to
apply...
pull that splash pan down a little bit?
Okay, let's see if I can... I could take it all off. How about that? Does that... Can you see that better?
Yeah.
Okay. As I lower this, you can see that this is adjusting itself so that it's horizontal against the left. And I push past the 45-degree position, pointed down. And again, let me jump in front of that camera for a minute. And then I'm going to tighten these. And what I've done is I've adjusted for the parallel position this way. And other than that, we just need the 45-degree position. So at this point, we take the calibration adapter out of there, and the stone would be inserted. Of course, this would be a stone that would be ready for the tabling. We tighten it into position. And again, there's no particular radial position which is correct. Move this to the 45-degree position. And we'd move forward to where this was comfortable to operate with. And that would be it. And that would be the way of working on the table of the stone. To remove that, we take the stone out. The stone can be put back into the spindle and worked on again. The cabling adapter is removed in this manner. I guess you could run that whole tape backwards and see that work in both directions. And then the retention screw is reinserted and you're ready to go on with the regular fastening. I'm next going to show you, again, if you're following along in the book, the transfer block itself, and then we'll go on to changing index gears. Now the transfer block, Robert, maybe you can come in on this. It operates with two slides, and these slides have been calibrated one to the other. The stone which is to be transferred rides in this little carriage. Put it in this way. Is inserted like this, and some pressure brought down. The dop, and let me select the dop here as a transfer to dop. That's inserted here. And then, oops, we need to snap it in like that. Usually better to move this. You keep these fairly snug so that you get good movement. And you can see that the cross pin here and here line up those chamfers, and then you can accomplish the transfer in that method. When we go in later on, and other tapes, we'll go into actual demonstrations of the faceting operation, and you'll see more about how these are used. But that's the operation of the transfer block. And next we will consider changing an index gear. To change the index gear, we'll use the calibration bar, and that's the prime purpose of the calibration bar is for the changing of the gear. And the reason that's important is that since we're using a system that has indexed dops, and using that back chamfer of the dop so that we can remove the dop and then reinsert it into the same position, it's very important that this little transverse pin that we discussed be at exact right angles to the zero position of the index gear. That's so that following the transfer, you're not throwing the stone in some opposite direction. In order for the stone to go in right back in the same attitude as it was originally, we have to accomplish a right angle between this pin and the zero position on the index gear. Now to do that, and let me remove this gear and I'll put it back on, which will accomplish the demonstration of both removing a gear and reinserting a gear. Let me get my wrenches lined up for that. Initially, we have to remove this retention screw. To remove the existing index gear, we loosen the set screw in the hub, raise up on the rocker, and pull forward. Very easy removal. Set that aside. Now, each index gear has its own detent. And to remove the detent, we go in with the Allen wrench and thread that out. I guess it's easier to do that with the rocker in that up position, in that freewheeling position. So it holds it up at a bit of an angle for you. And then rotate the screw out of there. Now, sometimes that detent wants to hang in a little bit. There's a little pin that holds it in a proper relationship. And take some work with your fingernails or maybe even a little screwdriver the first time to get that to remove.
You want to show us that, what you removed?
I removed this detent, I don't know whether you can see that, from this area here. It's going to be put back on in a moment, and you'll see that. Okay, now, make sure that you keep that little detent and the gear together, because those are partners. They stay together, and each size gear has its own detent. Now, we come along and we reverse that whole operation. This really is a matter of running the tape backwards. We start out with putting the detent on first, and it's easy to put the screw on the end of the wrench and approach it. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing there. I'm threading that down so that the detent is in firm. I then slip the index gear over the spindle, find the 0 position on the index gear, and then in this case what I did is I put the 96 back, but let's put the 64, you find the 64 position, and so forth. And then before you tighten it onto the spindle, engage the detent in that 0 position. So we have the 96 in this case, engaged with the 0 position. The set screw has not been tightened. Okay, and that's because we want that to be able to slip freely. We then put in the retention screw, and we put in the calibration bar. Now, the calibration bar is inserted just the same way that you did the dock, the way I showed you doing the dock earlier. You insert that, tighten it. Now, you'll see that this turns freely, and the index gear is not turning at all. And that's exactly what we want. We want to come down and press in front of you again. And we're going to bring that calibration bar in contact with the lap, and you saw that as it made contact. It straightened itself out. And what it did is it turned the entire spindle. And at this point, what remains is to tighten the index gear. So we reach in here. It's easy to reach around the back and tighten that index gear. And we've done it. Okay? Okay, that's, we've gone over all of the basic elements of the owner's manual, and not so very long ago in history, that was essentially what the owner's manual consisted of. If you go through the current manual, you know, your printed manual, you'll find instructions on cutting a stone. And we hope in the very near future to continue this video and give you those exact cutting instructions, but rather than delay this, delay the release of this, we'd like to get it out to you folks, and we'll have that additional information later. There's a few other things that I do want to show. As I look through this manual, incidentally, before it gets to the how to facet portion, there's a little section on maintaining and adjusting your Ultra Tec, and that's a very brief page, and that's worth reading. But let me stress again that the important thing to watch and to take care of is just keeping your equipment clean as you use it. And if you do that, you know, I'm almost sorry to say we never get to sell someone a second machine. We see machines that are over 20 years old, and if they've been kept clean, they continue to be in excellent condition. What I will do, however, is as I promised earlier, is show you the initial faceting of this stone that we sent you and show you how that's done. The material is glass. It's a glass marble. It's there so that you can start playing around with your machine right away. It's there because we test the machine, but we leave it there so that you can start playing around. If you destroy it, don't worry. I think they cost us 3 cents each, 2-point-something cents each. And I guess if you had to buy another one from us, we'd charge you a nickel. But I'm going to get this ready. I think I'm going to mount the dial indicator attachment on the machine because so many of you buy the machine with the dial indicator attachment. So let me show how that mounts. We'll have additional video information later on about using all of the accessory devices. I see that I also have to put the drip tank on this machine if I'm going to go ahead and use it. So Robert, fade me out, let me get ready for the faceting, and I'll be back in just a moment. All right, to do the faceting, of course, we need some lubricant, and in this case, this machine has a drip tank, which is what most people get. More recently, we've been selling more and more of the faucets, and that's described in our catalog, and you may be interested in that. But the drip tank is still the most popular method of providing lubricant. All we require for lubricant is water. Now, you may find, and I like to add a drop or two of a detergent. And if you use detergent as a wetting agent, use some clear detergent. Don't use those highly colored ones. Something clear, and again, maybe 2 or 3 drops in each bucket. To install the bucket, well, the drip tank, I guess is the right word, we have the post, and the post inserts into a hole behind the splash guard. Can you see that, Ron?
You want to move that forward for us a little bit?
Well, here, let me I'll spin the machine. Okay, you got a view of that now?
Sure do.
Okay. This just inserts in here and should fit rather snug. Okay? Now, let me put it back. I'm not sure how these angles are going to work when we get to the fastening. The drip tank then, and let me show you this, slips over this, and of course it can be positioned around with this, and in conjunction with this flexible downspout, it can be moved to any position. And I brought a little bottle of water to fill that with. Put that down out of the way so it doesn't clutter up our picture. And then test it. Now, when you use this, it can really be set to a very little bit. Let's get some flow first. And if you look down at that lap, Robert, maybe you can come in on that. You can see that I can adjust it to a relatively slow drip. And then we can bring it down to nothing at all. Of course, we can shut it off. The point I wanted to make is when you do shut it off, don't crank down on it. It's really not necessary to do that. Just a firm tightening will shut off that water. Now, I already had this lap installed, but let me do the dial indicator attachment again, since most of you have that. The dial indicator attachment is assembled like this. We move the spindle into an up direction. Lock it there. The dial indicator attachment is then slipped over the yoke, I think you're saying that right. Okay? And you hold your thumb in the front here so that is approximately flush in the front. Again, not critical. Underneath are 2 set screws. And having done this many times, I can just sort of reach under and hit those spots. You're going to have to peek underneath, so it might take you another minute or so to do that. Then bring down the spindle and come down. You'll see there's a small inner dial here. That should be, rotate the fine adjustment screw until the inner dial points at number 1. And when you raise watch the dial as I raise the spindle, you'll see that it goes, well, I'm getting 55 thousandths of movement on this. Okay, and that's plenty. Okay? Now, I'm going to set an angle. To set an angle, I'll first set the angle and then I'll make this correspond to the angle, and we'll be able to watch the material remove. Now, I will stone. I insert the stone. Again, I'm doing it so that the chamfer is away from the retaining screw. I put it in firmly so that it engages the pin and tighten. Okay? My index gear is in the 96 position. And let me see if I bring that chair over here, maybe I can sit and be out of your way too. This is a fairly low chair. Let's try this. That should be pretty good. Okay. I'm going to set my index gear at 43 for no particular reason. Okay, that's at 43. I use the fine adjustment screw to bring it into the 43. I make this 0 on the dial indicator attachment correspond. Raise, lower. Okay, it's about 1,000th off here, which is to be expected. Okay, raise, lower, and it's repeating okay. And now we put on the machine. I'm turning in a clockwise direction, provide some lubricant. And I'm not going to do this quite as fast as the guys doing the testing usually do, mostly because I want to avoid splashing on my nice new shirt. Okay. And I don't know how to do this, I'll do it this way to keep my hand out of the way. You can see the material being removed. This is I'm using a 360 lap, which is a very nice sort of a lap. And if I take a look at that, I don't know, you can probably see some shine off that facet while it's still wet, no? Which is not getting the reflection. Okay, but I can see that I'm going to have to go down further on that because I want to make sure that I'm getting to the meeting point. So we'll take off another 20 thousandths. In this approximately 45-degree position, incidentally, there's a linear relationship between the dial indicator attachment and the vertical scale, and that is that every thousandth I read here is a thousandth here. And you see I'm talking in thousandths. I should say every millimeter here is a millimeter there.
Turn it to the side so we can see that cut.
Yeah, you can probably see that cut that way.
There you go.
You see? Okay. All right, now I'm going to go 8 times around. And here's something that I do. I actually move the dial indicator attachment off the stop, which would allow me to push past it if I wanted to. And I just move rapidly down to that 0. Do the next one. And what I'm going to be looking for in the end of all this is to see that everything points up very nicely. And that's assuming that I've cut off enough to reach a center point. If not, we'll go back and do that again. And you know, this is very easy material to cut. This is glass material. Now, I'm sure the first time you use your dial indicator attachment, you're not going to be doing it the way I'm doing it. You're going to be looking and looking, because you will not have built the confidence yet that tells you that, yes, it really can be trusted and it'll cut accurately. But having done this many, many times, I know that I can trust the equipment, I can trust the dial indicator attachment. And barring some sort of problem, and we're going to discover that soon, or we'll discover that there isn't a problem, it will cut very, very accurately and give us a very nice point. Now, if we were not accurate, we would get some sort of chisel tip at the end. Okay, and that was my last position. And boy, it'd be nice to get this up close for me because that is pointing up just beautifully. And let's say at the time that you're practicing the angle settings and things like that, then what you should do is put a lap on it and try the stone that's in there. Try that bit of glass and grind it away and get a feel for the machine. Before you start working on it with gemstone material. And that's it. That's our first edition of